Hi, friends. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Andrew Volpini. Andrew is the founder and CEO of WordLift. WordLift is an SEO software which allows people to get better structured data in your website. Andrew, welcome to the show. How is it going?
Hi. Thanks for inviting me. It's great. Excited to be here today.
Great. So, Andrew, first of all, I would love to know a little more about you, talk about perhaps who Andrew is so that our audience can know you better. As a student growing up, who exactly was Andrew?
I dropped off the university when I was in the second year. I was studying mass communication.
Okay.
But at that time, I was already running a business on the web. And so I dropped out of the university and continue creating websites. And then I moved from website to content management system. So tools for creating websites. And then I moved on and I started to venture more into the field of semantic web technologies, as the content management system was expanding, and Tim Berners-Lee, the founder and creator of the World Wide Web, started to ask for data rather than pages.
Okay, so dropped out in second year of your college. So what led you to taking that decision? Like here we have a lot of, like, at least in the country I was born and brought up, there was a lot of taboo of making sure you have your education, your master's, bachelor's completed before you start your business. So what really led you to taking that decision of dropping out? Was it that your business was doing too well and you could see a different path for yourself moving forward, or something else?
I was starting off a business and I was already at that point employing other people. So the business was doing well, but I was the first out of many generation that didn't get a degree.
Okay.
So it was a big thing in the family.
Right.
So they accepted quietly. But yeah, I mean, it's been I don't know how many generation, but it was the first one. But I was an hacker always. I've been always an hacker in my mindset, and
Okay.
always will be. Meaning that in order to understand things and to be able to explain things, I need to do things, and therefore this path seems to be the most natural one for me. And then I end up, in any case, working closely with university and doing research for many years with European fundings. That it's actually what led us to the first prototype of WordLift back in the days, 2015 or 16. We were doing research work. So I always valued a lot the traditional education and the importance of spending time on finding innovative solution to problems.
Okay, great. So when you dropped out, what was your first startup? What exactly were you doing then? You said you were employing people back then. What year was this, and what exactly was your business back then?
So I started on the web in 1995. That's a long time ago.
You're one of the OGs of the internet then.
Yeah. So I've been doing working on the internet since then. In the beginning, I was still actually in high school with my existing co-founder and CTO of WordLift, David Riccitelli. We were in school together, and the first business was about web hosting. We were buying storage from servers in the US, and then we were starting to resell it in Italy for people that wanted to understand what this World Wide Web thing was. Oh. So that was the beginning.
And how did you find these people who wanted servers in Italy?
They used to, people usually founded us. I always been first in many industry, and I never had the problem of getting clients, because I was one of the few, if not the only, doing with my team certain things, whether that was web 3D or dynamic web pages or virtual agents, you call it. I mean, we went through everything, streaming. I mean, and we've been doing a lot of video streaming. So everything I was always be first, and therefore then the market comes to you because it's just you.
First mover's advantage is absolutely the best thing ever, which is possible. So what happened with that company? You grew it. How big were you able to?
Yeah, I sold a couple of web companies before getting to the point of focusing more on these intersection between artificial intelligence and search engine optimization. So I've been doing companies on the web. The first one was really doing web development, and then the second one was a larger agency where we developed this content management system. Okay. And then I started again with David with this idea of creating the platform for the semantic web. And
so
that's what we
David in your initial days. Then in your first and your second company, which you ended up selling, were you also partnered with David, or were you doing?
Yeah. We've been pretty much all the way through together in this. Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So why were you bored with those companies when you decided to sell them, or did you just get a good offer and you thought, okay, maybe it's time for me to,
I think it happened in kind of a mix of condition, whether it was time for me to move on, and the condition were good for me to leave and build something new. I mean, I think that you evolve as life changes, and also as you feel more attracted to new fields. And SEO for me was kind of a new thing, even though I started building web pages in '95, until 2015, 2016, it wasn't a thing, SEO, to be honest.
Okay. So 2015, 16 is the first time you experienced SEO as we know it,
Well, I mean, I've been developing very large sites for many years. So, I mean, it's not that I wasn't new to the term. I was new in terms of understanding the importance of making search engine understand your content. I was always more into organizing content, making, an effective navigation flow, helping user find stuff on your site, maybe developing the internal search engine for the site, but I never thought about the power of letting other understand your content through a crawler and an index that someone else is running, like Google or Bing.
Right, and that's how you kind of got into the structured data.
Right. So the thing is that we started with this vision of moving from the web made of pages to the web made of data, which was what Tim Berners-Lee was preaching in the old days when it started with this historical TED talk to scream about raw data now. And so I moved on into the open data movement, as we were doing a lot of work with governments. And so I really got myself involved in open data and, the importance of publishing data out in the wild so that others could develop application on top of it. And then I realized that the web should become all made of data because AI would be trained on data. Yeah. And so as we were transitioning into the AI first world, having data at hand and letting people control the data was becoming, pivotal also for an open and democratic society. But how could people publish data? How could people create their own knowledge graph? That was kind of the mission that inspired us into building WordLift.
All right. So you did not see any solution out there which could help people to build their own structured data in the format Google really likes it?
No, because also we started slightly before the creation of the schema.org consortium. So the thing was really kind of coming out, and I was coming out of the open data and linked data movement. So I didn't see, the importance of search engine until Boris De Maria, who is the co-founder of WooRank, rang me up and say, hey, I've been following your work and it's amazing. And I come from the SEO industry and we want to invest. And then I realized that SEO was really kind of our playground, and maybe this idea of democratizing the web of data was actually a good fit for the evolution of SEO.
Right. So you took investment from them, and is there any other investment which you have taken beyond
Well, this week we're going to make an announcement. So that was kind of in the early days, even before the company was created, and we partnered with WooRank. We still have a partnership in place, and we kind of started from the ground up a new company, while I already was running other two companies within the context of professional services, web development, and also information extraction. And yeah, this week we're going to make an announcement about a new round that we successfully closed.
Oh, awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, so we are expanding, we're growing, and most importantly, we are enabling a lot of websites create structured data and also automate the process of structured data.
Right. So, talking about structured data, how would you define structured data? Like for someone who does not understand, someone who's running a website but still does not have an idea about structured data, in easy layman terms, how would you define structured data?
Right. So structured data is a way of translating your content into a machine readable format that a search engine can understand. So unstructured is everything that it's written and can be interpreted by a human mind. Mm-hmm. Structured, it's something like a database that a machine can read. Now, structured data is like a database, but it also has the meanings that a human mind will detect out of unstructured data, out of a piece of text. And that's beautiful because it makes the machine able to understand the meanings much like a human would do when reading a piece of content.
Right. So say a website owner who's running a blog, what kind of structured data can he, think of implementing on his blog, and how would WordLift or maybe an e-commerce website, maybe let's talk of a few examples where users can actually understand the practical usage of structured data in their own websites.
Right. So let me share my screen. Sure. And start from the end. Okay. So let's try to look at why we want to use structured data. Tell me if you see the screen.
Absolutely, I do.
Okay. So let's look at these images here, and I'm gonna pick up one image. And then I'm gonna search the image with Google Lens. Okay, Google Lens, it's Google's way of looking at images, and it uses entities in the knowledge graph. And as you can see, as I do this, Google is capable from a single image to understand that this is related to Andrea Volpini, who is an entrepreneur. And then it's kind of pulling content from different websites that are related to, yes, that image, but also related to this entity. Here is another example, and if I go and ask, who is the founder of WordLift, then Google is able of providing a rich results. Mm-hmm. That will tell you that Andrea Volpini is one of the founder of WordLift, along with David Riccitelli, and we're providing this ability of to the search engine of interpreting the content and providing answers rather than links. Mm-hmm. Thanks to the use of structured data. So practically, what does it mean for someone that writes a blog? I mean, the first thing when you write a blog is that you want to make sure that the entity around yourself as a writer and as a publisher of the blog, it's structured. So you want to start using the class person and the class organization in order to help the search engine understand who you are and how you are present already on the web. So you want to start using these same as links and schema URL links that will provide confidence to the algorithm, like we saw in this Google Lens example, that that is the person behind the blog. And that is the same person that it's acting on LinkedIn and it's acting on Twitter and so on and so forth. So that would be the starting point, like kind of create your own entity on the web, because you want the search engine to be able to answer to questions like that.
When, say, someone running a blog has the author, schema and the people schema, a few schemas like organizational schema, will it also increase their authority on the search engines? Like, will Google give them more traffic, or will they actually benefit by getting more traffic in one way or the other?
Well, it's slightly more complicated than that. But let's say that if you want to provide an answer to someone making a search, you want that this answer is coming from a trustworthy and reliable source. So if I have never treated or written about, let's say, I don't know, fast cars,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'm not into automotive at all. Would
Right.
it be a good source of information for a searcher that it's making a query on fast cars?
Mm,
Possibly not.
not really.
So would it be a good source instead when people want to talk about online businesses and structured data? Well, definitely yes.
Yeah.
So the more we support the search engine in understanding what content we are capable of writing and how trustworthy we are in that specific niche, the
Mhm.
more we are providing, the ability of the search engine to help us rank for that specific queries.
So earlier, what used to be kind of the link authority, the domain authority of a website, the page rank, that kind of is now perhaps translating into the authority of a person rather than the domain. Like, I writing about SEO or you writing about structured data, anywhere, Google will give that authority to you as a person versus what website you're writing on. Is that
Well,
uh,
I mean, if we look at the Google patents that Bislasky usually highlights for us, we can see that it actually works in both ways because, of course, it's rare that you will find a content about fast cars on the Worldly blog.
yeah.
Most likely you will find something SEO related, but the author behind the piece, it's equally important. And of course, it plays within the context of the so-known EAT factors. So structured data is also a facilitator of these EAT factors because we could, we can entice the search engine to understand more about how specific we can be on that topic. We had done this experiment with the American University of Cairo, where
Mhm.
we were able to rank on Google Scholar because we have added structured data behind their blog post and matched them with the deliverable of the research that was behind these articles.
Okay, very interesting. So another question which comes to my mind is, like giving data to Google. Basically, we are just giving through structured data, we are giving data to Google in a very organized format so that they can show that data on the Google SERP without letting people come to a website. And hence, like the overall changing SEO landscape, like Google is trying to show more and more things on the Google search versus, letting people come to a website, like all the answers which I as a user and an end user wants. Google is trying to show those answers without actually sending that traffic to where that data actually came from. So is that a good thing, or irrespective, it is going to happen, let us get the maximum out of it? What's the thought process behind, what do you feel about the whole changing SEO landscape, SERP landscape?
So there are two line of thoughts here that we should follow. The first one is that we're not building structured data for Google only.
Okay.
And this year, I was honored to be involved in contributing to the structured data chapter of the Web Almanac. The Web Almanac, it's a yearly review of the status of the web, where we are.
Okay.
And as I was, analyzing and dissecting with the others in the team, millions of entries around the web of these structured data formats, I realized and finally I could see that we're not building structured data just for Google. We're not using structured data just for SEO. We're doing this because we are helping machines understand who we are. Now, machines like Google, yes, but we are also training our own AI on top of this structured data. Let me show you yet another example
Sure.
where we can see why, when we talk about structured data, we're not merely talking about Google only, but we're also talking about our own website. So here we can see the graph embeddings on the worldlift.io website. And I can look at the entity for structured data on our site, on our blog. And then I can immediately run this pipeline in order to understand that in WordLift, on our blog, when we talk about structured data, we mostly talk about knowledge graph and then search engine optimization and artificial intelligence and linked data and rich snippet and e-commerce. And then Bislasky, you can see him here, and so on and so forth. And I can look at Bislasky or Jason Barnard, and I can see how these entities are related one to another within the context of the content of the WordLift blog. So this helping us understanding the cluster of content that we have, and we're leveraging on the same structured data that Google is using for providing a valuable search experience on Google, on the SERP. So the first line of thought is, look, you're not building structured data for Google only. You are creating the foundation of the artificial intelligence strategy for your own site and for your own enterprise. The second line of thought is that, well, guess what? Even though the organic opportunity are evidently shrinking because of the AI first approach that Google is taking, our clients, our websites keeps on growing organic traffic. And why is that? It's because, of course, as we leverage on semantic SEO, as we nurture the machine with more qualified data, we're able to surface on different features, whether it's a top story in a news and media site, or it's a Google Discover traffic, or it's FAQ content, or it's the video traffic coming in the carousels. So we're leveraging on so many of these features that the traffic is not shrinking, quite the opposite.
Sure. So the overall traffic to our entity, if we do it right, will increase. And this is perhaps evident, like it is like inevitable that Google will anyways, get more and more, because their aim is to increase user experience from Google perspective, which means getting more and more data in an easy to understand format. Also, voice search coming into picture, I think structured data will play a big role.
It does because search is becoming more conversational, meaning that we can see already with Google Mom features like topic zooming. For instance, if I make a query like Calicube Tuesday, then Google Mom will fetch the upcoming event from Calicube Tuesday, and then the searcher, even though he doesn't know that the upcoming episode is about XYZ, will learn from these topic zoom, and how Google is capable of training something like Mom to enable such a feature using structured data, because that's how we are kind of transferring human knowledge to AI. And again, I mean, it's not just Google. The behavior of the searcher is changing. It's not that it's only Google doing that. I mean, we as people are becoming more conversational. We're getting more used to speak with automated assistant.
Alexa, do this, Siri, do that, all the questions we ask. Absolutely. So who is structured data really for? Is it for everyone who's writing on the web, who's building a website on the web, or is it for limited number of people? Because why I ask you this question is because, say, for example, there are 5 people by the same name. They all want to get on that knowledge graph, but not everyone can. So how does it work? And who can actually use structured data to their benefit?
Everyone can use structured data. Structured data, it's simply a form of open data. Now, open data, it's the way in which we can communicate with today and tomorrow's AI. So if we want to be heard, we need to speak to the AI. And the knowledge graph and structured data, it's the language that we can use to talk to the AI and to let the AI understand us, whether the AI is from Google, Bing, or our own AI. So structured data is for everyone. But of course, we have to focus on things that matter, because of course, Is it important that I am recognized as an entity person? Is it important that my products are recognized? Is it important that I specify, for instance, the information about the shipping details of my products? Do I want to facilitate a visual search like we saw in the beginning? Or would it be better, for instance, to focus on the identity of the brand? I mean, these are very strategic decisions that needs to be taken before thinking about what type of knowledge graph I want to build.
Okay, so someone who starts using WordLift, how can they benefit out of using WordLift to help them execute better structured data for their website, web entity?
Right. So WordLift automatically will read the content of a blog post and will automatically extract the most relevant entities using natural language understanding and name entity recognition. This will automatically provide Google with a lot more meanings about a specific blog post. So even by doing something which is similar to tagging, WordLift is providing search engine with a wealth of information. And as we saw, it's not just for Google, because then I can use this data in the graph, for instance, for creating these topical cluster around a specific area of interest, like structured data on the WordLift blog. I can use these graph also for creating maybe a headless setup. And, rather than going through WordPress, maybe I can, kind of build these headless in JavaScript to make the page super fast. But all the content, all the metadata about the content is within the knowledge graph.
Right. So I was looking at WordLift. So you do create a directory where you would create pages related to all the different terms on a blog page. Say, for example, the blog page of a musician has a keyword, maybe flute or violin. So you'll create a page and you'll have data related to that particular instrument on a page on my own website, on my own blog. So doing that, like, is Google, you're saying one, Google is able to relate better that what that post is all about, but does it create thin content, and where are you getting all that content from? Is it any duplicacy? Are you using any automated content generation libraries to do that?
Right. So let me quickly share the screen and kind of look at a blog post, okay, so that we can see these practically.
Sure.
So this is a blog post about employee burnout, and here WordLift is detecting a set of entities that might or might not be related to the content of the blog post. And as I am annotating, I can also decide if, for instance, I want to add the links to this content or not. And just by doing this, I am already doing a lot for SEO, because I'm providing Google with entry points for multiple queries that are yet related to this blog post, but somehow attached to these concepts. And I can do this with simple tags. Now, of course, when I do this, I can look in the front end that WordLift is already creating these context card widgets. Right. These content cards widgets are providing the reader with some understanding of some of the concepts that I'm using. And of course, I can decide if I want to have pages behind these entities or not. And this is, of course, an SEO decision that needs to be taken. And of course, it kind of has to do with the thin content question that you ask. Typically, WordLift will start to create these vocabulary of terms by looking at the content that you already have, so that we don't have the problem of thin content. But WordLift will also get the content from Wikipedia. Okay. In order to provide, some of these entity description. But the entity description can be simply used for building up the structured data, or it can be used for, creating pages. But these are, kind of decision that the user can take and that will impact the SEO strategy. So if I limit WordLift to use the data only for annotating semantically the blog post, I don't need to worry about, the thin content. And you can see here that WordLift is saying that this is an article in structured data form, but then it's saying this article talks about burnout and talks about, the other concept that has been detected, that automatically WordLift is also creating links to the web of data. So it's
Right.
not only referencing a generic concept, but it's also referencing the same concept across multiple data sets on the semantic web. And so this is kind of creating a knowledge graph around the article that, any machine can leverage on for understanding what the article is about.
So what have you, in your experience, when people have implemented WordLift on their websites, how soon do they see a benefit? What kind of benefit do they see?
Yep.
Do they see an increase in rankings at certain point of time after doing certain things? Because I think that's what our audience will really want to know and understand, the benefit out of implementation of the software.
Absolutely. So first of all, there are different cases, of course, and every site it's different, but there are some unique aspect. So in general, as I said, I mean, there are different levels, but the starting point is that I add semantic annotation to an article. Only doing that without creating links, without creating entities, without having additional content, only by doing that, on average, we see between 6 and 8% increase of the organic traffic over a period that can vary between the 2 weeks and the 2 months.
And that's a very low hanging fruit. Everyone would love to do that, right? Like 10%.
It's a 6-8%, which on larger platform, it means a lot, right?
Yeah,
and it's pretty stable growth.
Right.
Now, as you start to use the tool and you start to add links to, pages that you have maybe for a specific concept, or as you start adding widgets, which is also another area where WordLift allows the reader to discover more content using the data in the graph, then these can go up to maybe 30% or maybe 40% increase on a period of time that varies, again, from the 2 weeks for sites that have a lot of traffic to maybe the 3 months for sites that have less traffic.
So when you're saying creation of pages and widgets, so pages is just like, when you created that entity link, instead of showing the link description right there, there'll be a page created on my website if I'm using WordPress, not on a third-party website. And that page will just have...
No, not on my site, not on a third-party website. On my site, I create a page for, let's say, grouping everything about structured data. And then this page becomes like a category page, but it can be editorial as well.
Sure, like Wikipedia kind of does it, like linking everything, but most for them, every page is kind of very important. But we are creating these pages just to ensure that, the structured data is better and better understanding of.
Well, I mean, at that point, it's not just structured data, but it's also the time that the user will spend on the site. Because, of course, if I'm reading an article about, modern SEO, and there is a reference to, let's say, JSON-LD, and I'm not familiar with the concept of JSON-LD, and you allow me to understand on your site with an internal link what JSON-LD is, because you have written already about it, by creating these topical cluster around the article, we are increasing the opportunity for the user to discover content. So semantic SEO, it's all about thinking outside of the logic of keywords and pages, but think in terms of topical clusters. So when I write a blog post, I want to cluster, everything that I have in my galaxy of terms and content pieces that can help the reader discover more. That's the beauty of it. And that would create at least a 30% increase.
Wow. And where is the content coming from for these pages? Like, are you pulling it off the web? Are you writing it?
So as I said, there are two ways. You can, WordLift can look at the content on your site and then, let's say, for instance, transform every tag into an entity. And therefore, your tag pages will become these new pages. Or WordLift can get the data from the linked data, so Wikipedia or any other external source. Or in some, specific implementation where we start maybe adding more integration services, we can also generate it using language models. So there are various ways in which you can start looking at scaling up, the content production.
You also talked about widgets. What exactly are these widgets and how can they help?
Right. So let me get back on previous example for the article that we were working on, and then we can see the widgets in action. Here we are. So we are building these knowledge graph inside the article that kind of represents the information about this piece of content. As you can see here, I've also added a video, and Wordlift has detected the video that has been embedded in the editor, and it's already pulling the metadata from YouTube automatically. So whether this is my video or it's someone else's video, now it will appear as a video object markup bound to the article. And then I can, personalize the description, the name of the video, and all the metadata that Wordlift has created for me. But let's look at the widgets, okay? So when I do these, I can add a block. And for instance, add the faceted search widget, which is one of the widgets that Wordlift provides for connecting things that are semantically relevant. So let's have a look at these. So here, I mean, it needs to be styled, but Wordlift is, of course, and this is a demo site, so it's not necessarily, the best association of terms. But here, Wordlift is providing an interface which is similar to the one that we have on, let's say, Google image search, where entities are used to filter the content that is related to this article.
Right.
And then this is content that it's coming from my own site. Yeah. And so usually just by adding these, we get a 30% more pages views per session, because of course the content is semantically related. The user can kind of filter the list by tweaking on the network of entities. And this is kind of, it proves yet one other way in which we can increase the traffic and create value for the reader.
Right. And when someone is reading an article, if he sees related articles, it enhances user experience of
That's correct.
Related articles.
So usually when we place the widget, we look at two metrics. We look at the increase of the page per session on the pages where we have added the widget. Right. And then, of course, we look at the time spent, the average time spent on the page, which will dramatically increase, maybe by 40 or 60% even in some cases. Right. So these displays on the metrics are scalable, because then, you can have this widget at the template level. And then every page will benefit from these, even from, the archive that you have. So when we look at semantic SEO and, how much traffic can it generate? I mean, we usually talks about, a minimum of, we say 6.8 just for the semantic annotation, then 30% if you start, kind of creating your own vocabulary. And then of course you can go up to, 60, 500%, I mean, whatever, depending on, of course, the amount of content and the ability that you have to publish content.
Okay. And have you seen cases where things went south versus north, like in any like anything which like, because if we suggested to someone, are there any things which we have to be aware of, things to not do?
So you don't want to overdo with structured data. So we want to keep things as simple as a child would understand.
Okay.
And this is a good practice for Google, but it's also a good practice for your own AI. Because I mean, if I start to overstructure content, because of course now I can structure content by type. So I can use podcast episode for all the podcasts, and then I can use, let's say, service markup for the pages where I describe my consultancy service. And then let's say I can use, I don't know, local business for the pages where I talk about my presence on the ground. As I do these, I have to kind of keep things tied up together in a meaningful way, and I don't want to overdo it. I want to do things that a child would understand, because if I overdo it, then it's going to create noise rather than value. So you want to keep things simple and consistent.
Sure. All right. And how do you price, like, what, like a smaller website versus a bigger website? How will the pricing vary on, using?
So Wordlift, it's a SaaS, and so it's priced with basically 3 starting plans, and plans differ one to another based on, for instance, the type of entity that they support. So if you want to, for instance, use the video object extraction that I show you, which will also create a video sitemap automatically for all the videos that you have created, then you will need to use the business. Whether if you need to use, for instance, the local business and you have more than 2 sites, then you want to use the professional. And if you have just one single site, you want to, kind of get into the process, you can start with the starter. The starter is 49 euros per month. And then the professional is 79 euros per month. And the business is 199 euros per month. In the business, you also get 10 keys. So you can use WordLift across 10 different websites. And then, of course, a big chunk of our clients requires us also to kind of get into the consultancy for supporting the creation of the knowledge graph in the beginning. And so we have, packages that start from €1,000 per month, and then they go up. You have to imagine that WordLift is something that can run on, a single blogger site or on a website like Airbnb or Oakley. So it's an infrastructure that scales from a single blog to, a large e-commerce. And we've been lucky enough to work with large corporation that makes hundreds of millions of euros on a website, and with the average blogger, the infrastructure is the same.
So your business plan would, it doesn't matter how, you're only varying the pricing on the basis of number of entities which I can use, but the number of pages or my traffic on the website doesn't really matter.
We don't look at the traffic because we want to create more traffic, and so that would be kind of working backward in the model. We have to look at the number of pages, especially when we, for instance, look at e-commerce. And one of the e-commerce that we've been working with has more than 700,000 products in catalog, and building a product knowledge graph for 700,000 products, it means a lot of data. WordLift hosts the data in the knowledge graph for you, and so we have to price it by number of entities that are published. But this happens outside of the 3 plans that we have.
All right. And you said consulting services. So now mixing SaaS with services, how is that combination going for you? And what are the future plans?
Yeah.
Are you
so
on SaaS or services, or you think have you figured out the right balance between the two?
Yeah, so that's a very smart question, because the balance is really the key to the success here. So we are a SaaS, and our goal is to host as many knowledge graph as possible, to create these repeatable, scalable SEO tactics that allow an organization to get structured data, to use it in the most interesting way, but also to create these AI infrastructure on top of it, which one day can be used for generating the product description, and the other day can be used for recommending the best content. So we need to keep on developing the platform in order to serve these advanced use cases. So everything that has to do with an advanced use case will go through the professional services. But the platform, which is what we are capitalizing on, it's the same. And the same platform that served a starter for 49 is the same platform that is responsible for the structured data on a very large websites.
So when you talk about the professional services, do you train the team of the company or of the organization, or is it your people actually doing it for them?
No, we are keen on training other people. We need these things to kind of move and on its own. So we're not only training the editorial team or the SEO team on the other side, but we're also training a specialized SEO agency around the world to take it forward for us, because of course there is so much need and we want to keep the team small, because we need to stay focused on the technology. And I want to enable more use cases. So right now we're working on, enabling, for instance, the neural search on e-commerce, because we realize that we have a wealth of metadata inside a product knowledge graph that it's used for Google.
Right.
But these metadata can be effectively used for on-site search. So we
True.
want to bring a better on-site search experience on all of our clients, and we need to, get this technology in place. And then we need to bring it in the end of the people, which means that we need a network of professionals that kind of take it forward for us.
Right. And I think site search is still like mostly broken. Not it like, I like a lot of
It's
search.
still an unsolved problem, on-site
Absolutely.
search. But
Yeah.
the thing is that the reality is that it's not a technological issue
Mhm.
much as it is, a content structuring issue. The problem is not that, the Algolia or the Elasticsearch that you might already have are not capable enough. Not at all. The problem is that the curation of this data is
Yeah.
not as precise as we think. And in SEO, though, we're doing already this work because we're doing it for Google. So why
Right.
don't we leverage on, the on-site search?
Yeah, and then like for example, if I'm running an e-commerce site and I have a ball, but I like I don't have the categorization by color. You can actually through neural networks figure out the color, maybe create a new page, or at least allow search users to figure out, okay, you want a red ball versus just a ball which will show 50 different colors. I think that's a great use case.
That's exactly what we're doing, and we are actively working with the team of GenAI in order
Okay.
to create the best possible neural search for e-commerce. And I can also in this case give you a quick preview of what we're doing in this area, because once again, I mean, WordLift, it's a technology platform for automating SEO at scale, and working on the internal search. It's part of this process. So if I say, I would, kind of get something like this, but then, I can also do like multimodal search, and then I can, leverage on images to run a query. Do you see that? So I'm adding, a pair of sunglasses here. I'm
Right.
running the crop, and then I'm just gonna hit here, and I'm gonna use this image as part of the query
Okay.
that hopefully will help me return relevant results for this type of product.
No, that'll be okay.
Right, and this is a true multimodal search, meaning that, of course, I can then combine a visual query like the one that we saw with the text and say, I want these in pink or I want these in black. So we're building this infrastructure that, once again, uses the structured data in the knowledge
Yeah.
graph as a kind of, indexing data.
Nice. Right. All right. So if I have to implement WordLift, do I need to be a user of WordPress or are you also going multi-platform?
Yeah, so we're going multi-platform, and at the moment we definitely are pretty strong on e-commerce sites outside of WordPress, because
Okay.
we start from the product data,
Right.
enriching the product data and bringing the metadata, the structured data right on the page. We are less fast on editorial content that is not running on WordPress. We do have, though, a couple of large implementation where the CMS is a proprietary, and we have a set of APIs that can be used for doing the integration. So we do have, we work outside of WordPress. For e-commerce, it's pretty easy.
Mhm.
Outside of the e-commerce requires integration.
Okay, that's great. I think Drupal should be a great addition as well. A lot of big
Yeah,
content websites are built on Drupal, so perhaps that's
absolutely.
good.
Drupal, it's definitely one of the CMS that we've worked on the most.
Okay.
So definitely would be interesting to start integrating WordLift into that.
Nice. So Andrea, that's great. Like, what you're doing with WordLift is just amazing. I would love to promote it to as many people like our audience and more people we talk to. So two times you have sold your company, you're working on WordLift. What are your life goals? Like, what exactly would give you a lot of happiness in life? What's that thing which would make you satisfied in your life?
Well, one thing that I learned is that I get very happy by building an amazing team.
Okay.
So when I can aggregate, like we're doing now,
Mm-hmm.
motivated professionals that kind of discover something completely new that it's mind-blowing as building the web of data, I am satisfied. That's one thing. The other thing, of course, is that my mind thinks in terms of what's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's always about, what technology do we need to build to enable the future? And in the future, your website is going to be a chatbot. And I want to
Yeah.
build, the technology that you need
Mm-hmm.
for, making it easy for companies to create, let's say, a chatbot or a neural search. So staying there and building the tools that people need, it's also what makes me happy.
So we can see a lot of evolution in WordLift, perhaps, or maybe product
Absolutely.
alongside.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, we see that, the knowledge graph, it's the building block of your AI strategy, and every organization needs to have an AI strategy.
Yep.
It's crucial for SEO. Our angle will remain SEO, but we see SEO becoming more and more holistic and
Yeah.
kind of covering different aspects of the user experience.
Great. Absolutely amazing work, Andrew. Let's have a quick rapid fire if you're up for it.
Sure.
Great. Can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Italian, technology addicted, future thinking.
Okay. What is that one thing you've done that you're most proud of?
Building WordLift.
Okay, great. What's your favorite part of your current job?
Building an amazing team
Okay, awesome.
and working with clients. Working with clients, it's vital because I mean, I learned so much from our clients, and we have such an amazing set of clients from all over the world. And I'm very thankful because of what we learn every day.
Amazing. If you were in a parallel universe and not doing word lift or marketing, what else do you think you would be working on or doing in a parallel universe?
In a parallel universe, I love a lot to meditate.
Okay,
I would
okay.
spend more time in a mindful state,
Mm-hmm.
which I do at the moment. Sometimes writing code, sometimes doing crazy stuff with clients.
Okay.
But yeah, mindfulness will be there.
Awesome, awesome. Great, amazing interview, and love talking to you, Andrea. It was just great understanding everything about WordLift and your journey of life. I hope our users will enjoy this as much as I did. Thanks for taking out time.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.